Chris, it is awesome to see you.
It is nice to see you in person as well. Yeah, it's been a while.
As Sherry and I have set out in the data bus, our concept was that we would. We would visit people along the way, and thought that we'd pull up in front of the house in the bus, with the 36-foot Class A, with the tow vehicle. That's like 50 some feet of. Anyway, we rethought that after pulling into some neighborhoods with narrow streets and overhanging trees.
Yes.
So we are parked out in Monroe, and so we're in the area. We've got the tow vehicle, the Jeep out front, but you're hanging out on your back deck. This is nice. What are you hoping to see as we try to get back to some sense of normalcy in the data community? What does the next year or two look like, do you think?
Well, that's a good question. Personally, they've pushed back the office reopening to October for Microsoft. If you have, and actually for people who have kids under the age of 12, it's not till January.
Okay.
So it's still going to, which is, I would argue probably half the people I work with fall into that category.
I haven't been on campus for, I don't know, a year and a half, maybe 2 years now, and that's unusual. I usually visit often. So
I've actually not been in the, teammates of mine have gone into the office for one reason or another. I have not gone back to the office since the day in March I left in 2020. So whenever I go back, will be the first time in a year and a half, effectively, that I go back. I am, I used to work, that I used to work in the field, and then even before that when I was SAP, I used to work at home all the time. Mm-hmm. So it was not unusual to work in kind of a hybrid environment where people were in and out of the office, and it wasn't very strange. But then when I came to Redmond, basically you were in the office every day, and you felt like you were missing something, and it was, sure, you could work at home, but boy, being a PM and working with the engineers, you really wanted to be there.
Well, and working with humans face to face is an important dynamic.
Yes. Oh, sure.
But since we've all had a lot of practice over the past year and a half working virtually, it seems like maybe we're better at that.
Yeah, I think once you leveled the playing field, it made it a lot easier, because you always had somebody or a few folks who would be remote, and then you'd have this meeting where everybody's in the meeting room and then they're on this screen.
Yeah. And cameras on?
Yeah, cameras on.
Yeah.
No, that's the whole thing. So I am really interested to see how that works. I will be taking full advantage of the hybrid model. Like, I'll be working at home half the time and in the office half the time. Yeah. I think that's the plan for the team, is we're actually adjusting our schedule accordingly. So I'm excited to see this, because I think certain things it has opened up. I never really, it was always great to see people, but I didn't particularly love flying 2,500 miles to a conference necessarily for one 40-minute slot. And then,
so how has the change in work environment caused by the pandemic changed the way that the Power BI and Paginated Report product teams work together?
When we first started, it was, took a lot of getting used to, but boy, the team, you think about the things that have come out in the past year and a half, and I'll use the premium per user example as an example. Premium per user was not signed off on, started anything prior to the pandemic. So think about, from the final business approvals to that being rolled out, that all happened virtually. It was coordinating across marketing, business planning, PM, engineering.
And a lot of people don't realize. That was certainly a licensing option that was introduced. But in working with you, I had some insight to see that required a lot of engineering work.
Yes.
There were architectural retooling that had to take place. A lot of technology went into giving us the ability just to license individual users.
Yeah, and even though it's running on the Premium Gen 2 platform, which is coming out to GA in the coming months, but all that happened while everyone was virtual. So I think that shows just how effective this model could be. Because again, the thought was boy, that's a big project. How are you going to coordinate all this across the different teams? And Microsoft's infrastructure, to be fair, was well set up for that type of occurrence to happen. It had never really been put to that sort of test.
You guys are kind of good at tech.
Well, especially this idea of the cloud and virtual and all of those things, and that's one of the reasons why Microsoft's stock has grown during this entire period. So I think that it really showed that this could be successful. I mean, certainly people missed the face-to-face of it, but the team really adapted, and we've shipped a bunch of great stuff in the last 18 months that was all done with people in different parts of not only here in Seattle, but across the world. So.
Yeah. Well, we've certainly seen that. In the last couple of years, my work has transitioned. I was running my own company 4 years ago when I went to work for Pragmatic Works, who were then acquired by 3Cloud Solutions. And 3Cloud is entirely cloud focused. A lot of see how our audio works with the wind blowing. But so we're doing a lot of of complete platform migrations for big companies. So there's a lot of on-prem going into Azure. We're lifting data warehouses and entire data platforms into Azure Data Lake, and moving SSIS into Azure Data Factory.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and moving a lot of on-prem SSRS implementations into paginated reports in Power BI.
Yep, with 62% compatible.
62% compatibility. Okay, that is a reference.
That was a joke this morning on
the guy on the Cube live stream on YouTube. Somebody I think it was Chris Wagner who made that joke.
No, I made the joke.
Oh, you made the joke.
I made the joke.
What is the question was how compatible is paginated reports with SQL Server reporting services? And the tongue-in-cheek answer was 62%.
Just like, sure. I'm not sure exactly what you're looking for here, but here's a number.
Right. And then all of us, and I would say that everybody in our community to some degree has ADD or ADHD, which means that as soon as somebody makes a joke, it goes off into a tangent.
Yes, exactly.
And so I started joking about soap.
Yes, I saw that. I think at that point I closed my iPad. I was like, okay, this is kind of the end of this. So.
Well, it was the Ivory soap commercial where they said that it was 99.44.
Yes. Oh, I remember that commercial.
Cleansing cream, whatever cleansing cream was.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know.
Anyway, but the question was, how closely related is paginated reports in the Power BI platform to on-prem SQL Server reporting services?
Yes.
And what is the answer?
Well, it's funny because you could make an argument for any one of those numbers. If you're talking about the RDL itself, the actual report,
It's the same thing.
100% compatible. Like absolutely. When you're talking about the product SQL Server reporting services, that's when it becomes a much different story because again, Power BI was built for Power BI desktop and Power BI reports and analysis services models. So everything we do on the Paginated Reports team is to basically re-engineer or re-architect it to make it work with the principles from SQL Server reporting services. So there are a lot of things missing from the server product still in there in terms of shared data sources and shared data sets and data-driven subscriptions, which I know you have mentioned amongst many others.
A few times,
yes. And how security works and the APIs. So those are all things where a lot of them will be coming in a similar way, but might not be implemented exactly the same way, just because of the architectural decisions that were made. But that's where that came from, because you could go any number of directions with that type of question, and I get it, of course, all the time.
Of course.
Yes, of course.
Chris, first of all, since you took over the Paginated Report team, you've done a wonderful job. You've been a great advocate in the community. I think that you've led this product team very, very well. But you've also kind of been the fodder of a lot of, I'm searching for words here. Abusive, I don't know, help me out here.
Yeah,
you know what I'm trying to say.
No, I know what you're trying to say.
You've handled that extremely well. I think a lot of cannonballs have been lobbed your way, by folks who are saying, hey, what's going on? Reporting services is 15 years old now, and is it ever going to be modernized? Is it ever going to act and look and feel like the rest of Power BI? And we know the answer. Those of us in the community, no, it's a very well-established product. It's
yes.
a very stable product.
And it does different things.
Yeah.
Like, that's the point, is it, like, they aren't, I have to use one or the other. It's like, no, they actually complement each other quite nicely. And I go back to that series of blog posts that Rob Colley did, after a conversation he and I had, where, for a long time he was very much in the RS is dumb. It's, for dumb reports and just flat tables.
That's because he used Excel.
Yeah, of course. He's Mr. Power Pivot Pro. Not anymore. They're P3 now. They've modernized. Mm-hmm. So, but in all seriousness, like, he finally kind of got, like, it gave him these customer examples, and he finally kind of understood, hey, these things really do play nicely together, and that's, the genesis or the impetus of the Paginated Report visual, which was recently released, was, yes, it was a hackathon project a few years ago from one of the engineers, but the whole point was, boy, I really wish these two things kind of fit together, because I could do these really unique use cases with the one, but it's kind of this, hop, skip, and a jump between the two, and now we've really married the two technologies in a way that, yes, it's one thing to do a hackathon project in a few days for engineers. I mean, doing that visual and doing it right took months. And so it was, I'm very, very proud of the team and that effort, and there's been obviously a lot of interest and excitement around that, and I expect it to drive a lot of use cases. But yeah, it has been I think that hopefully people understand this, and yes, the premium only thing was problematic for quite some time. Premium per user has certainly helped quite a bit. I mean, I can see that just from the numbers internally, and just in terms of, if you're talking about the breadth of adoption, it has effectively doubled.
So the premium per user certainly enabled a lot of adoption. I think there was a lot of pent-up adoption.
Yes,
it was just a lot of customers who maybe weren't real large organizations with deep pockets, and premium capacity licensing was challenging. But when you step back and you look at the Power BI platform, there's a lot of value for the money there.
Oh yes.
And as companies began to adopt cloud technologies, I think that there had to be a shift in thinking about the way that you pay for services.
There did.
And the cost for services.
There did.
And the point that I'm getting to is that Power BI started out kind of under the shingle of it's free. You're right. It did. And so there was an expectation there, and then suddenly when you wanted to create reports for thousands of users, like, oh my gosh, it's $5,000 a month.
Yes.
What are these yahoos are trying to?
But I do want to correct something. The first version of Power BI was not free. The Power BI 1.0 that nobody ever talked
True.
about. Yes.
Well,
you and I remember
my Office 365.
Yes, you and I remember it, because I had to try and sell it.
Yeah.
And guess what? Nobody bought it. That's why they went and they changed it. And then now people are buying it like crazy. Yeah.
Well, I think there was a time when the message out of Microsoft was, you need to use all of our products together. You've got to have SharePoint and SQL Server and Office 365.
I know that better than anyone.
and it's all better together, but every customer has to buy every single product, and you have to have the latest version of every product in order for them to work together.
Yes.
Which is, your reporting services used to, be embedded inside SharePoint.
Yeah.
That was difficult to get set up. Long story short, I think it was. Yes, this is how I met Adam Saxton, by calling up CSS and saying, "Hey, I can't get Kerberos to work. Help me with constrained delegation."
Oh God, that setup. Like I tell the story. Like I actually kept tabs. So I set up a reporting environment with SharePoint 20 times. 10 times it worked. 10 times it did not. And I did the exact same steps each time. Yeah. It was remarkable how
delicate.
Yeah, just depends. Yeah. And sure enough. So anyway, but that's long ago.
Right. Well, then we have a better story now. I think, you sign up through the Azure portal or through Office for a service like Power BI. You download a free tool like Power BI Desktop, which is incredibly easy to use, or Paginated
Power BI Report Builder.
Power BI Report Builder.
Yes, this fabulous new tool.
Yes, right. Yes.
Very new.
Very, very new. Yes, which has been called Report Builder since 2006.
For quite some time. For quite some time.
But it is a newer model, and I think it's been very, very successful.
I'll tell you might appreciate this. So when I first joined the product team, the licensing for Report Builder actually said you can't use this without SQL Server.
Yep.
Because the concern is that it was so powerful that people would go and just download that and run their reporting off of Report Builder and never purchase SQL Server. We didn't really see that happen or play out the way one would expect.
So you wouldn't have ever published a report to a server and
No, you would have just all done it locally, and it would have been so incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not so much.
That's a difference in thinking. You've helped educate me around the use cases for reporting services and paginated reports, which I think have, some are still the same, but I think in aggregate have changed. Back in the day when I was doing, heavy advanced report design work, we were taking reporting services to and beyond their limits. And the limits, we would find a limit and then we would find a way to work around it.
Yeah.
You could write, custom .NET extensions, embed VB code inside of reports, and do a lot of really crazy things. But, those were edge cases.
Yeah.
That's not the mainstream. That's not what most folks do with operational paginated reports. So today, when developers are looking for a way to create an entire report and data consumption experience, that typically starts with Power BI proper today. Okay, so users are now used to interacting with their reports. You click on a chart and it highlights and it slices, and you filter and you drill through, etc. And then when they want to get to those low-level details, enter
Power BI Report Builder and Paginated Reports.
Paginated Reports.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah. So how? What is that use case? How of all of the paginated reports that are generally created in the world, how many of them are a table with rows?
So the over 80% of the reports created consist of a table and text boxes.
Okay. All right.
Over 80%.
That's pretty easy to do.
Yeah, but 80% are table and text boxes. Now, of course, the table control, the tablix, as it's known in paginated reports, is incredibly powerful. And you can do all sorts of things with that, and that's one of the reasons why having that visual, being able to use that table is so important to customers. But to your point, you could. I tell people, like, look, yes, I'm the person who owns paginated reports. That does not mean that I am the best person to create a report. Or you know the product probably far better than I do in terms of your breadth of experience and your book, SQL Server Reporting Services Recipes.
And I will add that we've actually updated and added some additional recipes that are on my blog at SQL Server BI.
Yeah, which I very much appreciate. I do point people to. But I think that an example that I often give, or one of the reasons, if you think of a banking website, and you think about, you have your charts at the top showing your spending, and then you have a statement, which is just a PDF, and you can click through there and then see the stuff on your PDF, and then print that out. And that's exactly the type of thing where if you have the visual, or you're thinking about a paginated report, those combination of things together is exactly what customers are looking for. And again, I say the joke, and this is all, I said Paul Turley would roll over in his grave if he knew what people...
If he were dead,
he were dead, he would. Like, that, oh boy, I now can export a bunch of data. Like, that's what they like to use paginated reports for.
My favorite requirement is how do I export it to Excel?
Which, guess what? Paginated reports can do with a plum.
Sure.
But at the same time, we've had to spend a lot of energy and work optimizing for that scenario, because Power BI is not designed for that. Paginated reports certainly can, but just in the cloud, you talked about some of those things, the .NET expressions and things like that. You know what's not very cloud friendly? .NET expressions, because you can, of course, run custom code and do all sorts of things. So, there's a whole infrastructure in place to protect your neighbors in the cloud from any code you might be running with your report in your tenant.
Chris, you work hard. You work incredible hours. I see you participating in things like the live stream today. On a Saturday morning, I see you at conferences.
Yep.
What do you do to unplug?
Well, as you came in, you saw I had a number of video games.
Yes, I did see that.
Lining the wall there. So I watch movies, play video games. I've traveled now that traveling happen again. You know, I've been traveling a couple times down to California to see the Phillies play. I enjoy going to sporting events very much.
You're from Philadelphia, and
yes.
you're visible in social media.
Yes,
and,
yes.
You know, certainly know that you're a big Eagles fan.
Yeah, Eagles, Phillies. Yep. So that's certainly something. Yeah, I've been down to Portland for a Sixers game.
Yeah.
You know, that disconnecting. It was always a challenge I had previously when I worked with them, and my wife will get quite frustrated because it never quite ends.
I can relate.
Yes,
to that.
I can understand that because you don't want to, like, well, I want to finish this one thing off. One thing turns into something else and something else. So it's
reassuring to know that you're having the same conversations that I have routinely.
And it's a fair point, and I've tried to be better with that. Yeah. I really have. So it's super important, and I don't want to shut people down by saying, hey, leave me alone. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not really thinking about work right now.
Yeah. So
that's fun.
So, the bear.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Now, hold on a second.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Even though I did come wearing my Star Wars edition Columbia Sportswear
that looks familiar.
Hawaiian shirt.
Oh, nice.
I did.
Very
I
nice.
did don the bear.
Those are
today.
very limited.
Yes.
Those are very limited.
Yes.
So very impressed.
Let's do a shot.
Yeah, that's right.
With the bear. Is this the same bear? Is this exactly the same bear?
It is the same bear.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is the same one. For whatever reason. So the interesting thing is, he is a Beanie Baby technically.
Yes.
Yes, he's a Beanie Baby from about 2000, 2001.
He's a tie. Okay.
Yes, he has a tie. He's considered the hero bear. Now, I don't know why he is a hero. I assume because he wears a tie and supports his family with some sort of job.
Okay.
I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. But he actually, if you find these bears, and you can go search up a hero bear on eBay or something, they don't quite look like this one. They're all similar. So for whatever reason, he's a little unique.
Okay.
You can definitely tell if it's him or not him.
Well, in the vein of being unique, it's a unique story. Mm-hmm. Now you started. I remember the first YouTube video, and
it's
it was
very rough.
Your son Matthew.
Yes, who is here somewhere.
So you just kind of used the bear to bring attention to what is now Paginated Reports.
Yes.
But so this highlights something very interesting. This was definitely a side project. This was not sponsored by Microsoft.
Absolutely
it certainly wasn't
not.
Anything official.
Absolutely not. No.
But it's grown legs, and it's become this cultural phenomenon now.
He has over 1,000 Twitter followers.
Everybody knows who
Yes.
the Paginated Report bear is. What does community mean?
I've recently hired a new PM onto the team, and a woman named Cookie McCrae, and I let her know, just like I let my other PMs know, there is no requirement that you be present or active on social media if you don't want to, if you don't feel comfortable with that. However, I think you'll find it is a very rewarding part of the experience because of the community of individuals who are very passionate about the product and express that passion through these channels. And I think it's not about shouting questions at you. It's just seeing the excitement and the feeding off of that energy that everybody brings through these platforms and meeting them in person. And the fact that Patrick and Adam have 200,000 people following their YouTube channel. They're terrible YouTube channels.
The production quality is horrible. Nobody knows who they are.
They never have the bear
on.
About the Patrick refuses to take my calls anymore. No, but I mean, that kind of passion and energy, it's great. That's what's so wonderful about this community. And one of the things, I would miss this community quite a bit because of that, just the relationships with people like yourself.
And likewise.
You don't get that necessarily in every job.
Well, and we don't necessarily cross paths with a lot of other vendor communities. I mean, I do with some, but we've got something very special here within the Microsoft Data Platform.
I agree.
And it's hard to describe. I work with consulting clients all the time who are saying, we're looking at Click, we're Tableau, we're looking at Power BI. I mean, what are the pros and cons? I was like, folks, you don't understand. Mm-hmm. You don't realize that once you invest in this community, that there are thousands of people who are eager to help.
Yes.
And it's really hard to convey that to somebody who hasn't experienced that.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things, like the videos that I put out on YouTube a while ago, like how to do some stuff with paginated reports, I did those very quickly, and I left in mistakes I made to show, like, hey, product team's not perfect either. Like, we fumble through things sometimes, we forget. Working more is not the same as doing a good job. Just because you put in 70 hours doesn't mean they've been 70 productive hours.
Yeah.
And
or to be recognized for putting in 70 hours.
Or to be recognized for that. And this appearance, like, I think a lot of people kind of equate, hey, I'm doing a lot of stuff equals doing a good job. And that's not really the case. And I have gotten much more, as I've gotten further along in my career, and felt more confident or comfortable to say, I can't do that right now. I'm doing this. I'd rather do one thing well than two things poorly. And I've made that point several times over the last few years where, I've been asked to take on new responsibilities or things at work, and it's hard. It's very hard to go and say no and feel okay with that. And, once you become comfortable with that, I think you find you're able to set boundaries and understand your own value and worth a lot better than you just say yes to everything and then kind of do, eventually tip over, and then you end up disappointing people in a very different way.
Sure. And don't you think that colleagues and superiors will respect you for that? For setting boundaries?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Chris.
Yeah.
So much. This was fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. The data bus coming. Oh wait, there's no bus. You just came in my house.
I will share it online.
I see.
All right. How do you feel about this, Chris? Me just showing up.
I'm not sure, Paul. I was like, oh wow. Let people know. But this is what you see when you come in the front entrance.